Good
Welcome.
morning, everyone. Those were some great tips that we heard from Principal Hurt. So we hope that everyone comes in. As you see, I'm Dr. Sheikah Houston. We have Dr. Roz Gaskin filling in with us today. Tammy is out with bereavement. So Dr. Roz is going to do introductions as I feed through to different
Yes.
pages everyone can tune in. So thank you, Dr.
Come
Ross.
on in. No problem. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining us again. Welcome. Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday. And welcome to Saturday PD with Dr. Sheikah. And again, I'm Dr. Roz from the Village, filling in for Principal Tammy of Create and Educate LLC. Again, welcome. Please, again, be in prayer for Principal Tammy's family as they have experienced great loss this week. And again, as Sheikah feeds the threads through, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Create and Educate. Now, these ladies are practitioners that offer professional development for leaders, leadership teams, and staff. Sheikah and Tammy have 40 plus years of experience in education between the two of them, serving as teachers, assistant principals, and district level administrators. No matter the position they were serving, collaboration has been the thing that ensured success. They model this through their Saturday PD because many times as leaders, you hear about people working in a silo, stressing, and we know firsthand that it doesn't have to be lonely at the top. Through collaboration, Sheikah and Tammy, along with their phenomenal school teams, turned around schools that were rated unsatisfactory and moved them 2 report card grades, that's right, 2, in 1 year at Sheikah's school, which was a middle school, and 3 report card grades at Tammy's elementary school. And that's good stuff. A great deal of the growth story is captured in a case study conducted by NWEA on their website, Create and Educate Solutions. Y'all need to check it out. I check it out all the time. Now, Sheikah and Tammy have collaborated with leaders across the country that help them achieve these goals, and they want to pay it forward and help other educators achieve their goals. So that is why they founded Create and Educate LLC. Some of the best PD they have ever had has been from practitioners, and they want to share their experience with knowledge and paying it forward and not keeping it to themselves. And we appreciate that, don't we? Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Now, we want to make sure you guys visit their website. Again, it's www.createandeducate.solutions. So check out their book, Women Who Lead, that can be purchased on their website. Another place they model collaboration, which is at the core of their philosophies, collaborating with women leaders, providing great leadership tips to all leaders. And check out their latest virtual field trip, Braille's Tour. One of the independent authors they promote, Latoya Lewis, is an educator that has been working abroad in Dubai. She takes families on a phenomenal virtual tour of Dubai and reads her book at the end of that tour, I Am Brown. They say it's for kids, but several adults have enjoyed it. The virtual tours are part of their work with helping independent authors get their books more readily available in schools. I'm sure you have seen the graphics that shows the low percentages that children of color see themselves in text. We have to change this, and one way that they have found to change this narrative is by purchasing books from independent authors. Sheikah and Tammy have many of them listed in the catalog that they provide free, I'll say it again, free to leaders and parents because representation is so important. In the catalog, you can see the professional development they offer to schools and corporations that they love what they do because they are educators at heart. And again, thank you so much, Sheikah, for having me. Again, we're going to continue to pray for Principal Tammy and her family during this time. But thank you guys for tuning in to our
Thank you.
Saturday PD.
Thank you, Dr. Roz. And as Dr. Roz stated, because we are collaborators and we're not competing, but we're working together and building that collaborative culture. That's why Dr. Roz is here today, filling in because she's someone that we collaborate with on a regular basis,
Yes,
and we need to do a better job. And more leaders need to make sure they know that it doesn't have to be a lonely place at the top. We can all work together, and we are definitely better together. So if you were just on with Principal Hurt, he gave us the second half of the great information that he had that we were able to take notes on, and he definitely has given us some great things to make sure that we're building our cultures as well. And that's what we're talking about today. Create and educates 5 super strengths to a resilient school culture that is built to last, the real way. And our acronym REAL, we have gone through all of that, and we're on the A today. So the R, remember, was respect, and that is your door into the other parts of the acronym, which are excellence. Today is accountability, literacy, and leadership. So we have some great tips for you that you can use so you can build that positive school culture that Principal Hurt just talked about. And one of the things you want to make sure you have in place with accountability as leaders, we always talk about you have to inspect what you expect. It's great to make sure you've laid the foundation with the respect for your staff, your students, your parents. You've set those high expectations, which is the excellence portion, and now you want to make sure that you've put those things in place, but you have to inspect what you're expecting. And we have some great people joining us. Miss Merlina Valentine, Josh Tovar, Principal Kafele, Robin Wilson. Thank you all so much for joining us and being on with us. So inspecting what you expect. One of the things that a lot of our work is based on is the work of Ron Edmonds, and he found several schools that were high performing, high poverty, and also high minority. So one of his correlates, and this one aligns with accountability, is the frequent monitoring of student progress. So what systems do you have in place at your school to make sure that that is happening with teachers as well as with students? So you definitely want to make sure you have accountability measures in place for your data. As the principal, we always, as the leadership team, dove into that data and made sure that we knew it and went through it with a fine tooth comb. One of the educators that helped us to do that we collaborated with, Principal Hurt. Principal Hurt
yes,
explained data to us in a way that, because he's a practitioner, it made sense. And once we learned all of those things that went into that and understood what they mean and how to move that needle, we were really able to move our schools, like Dr. Ross talked about, 2 and 3 grade levels in 1 year. Thank you, Dr. Jackson, for joining us. We can't wait to hear you all's interview coming up next. So, accountability, what systems do you have in place to make sure that you're looking at your data first as a leadership team, because you can't look at other people's data and you don't know it. Then you're not going to know the right questions to ask. And as a leader, you want to make sure that people are buying into what you're saying, but sometimes you don't want to be that just here it is direct. You want to come to that conclusion together. So if you have gone through the data and you make sure you know the right questions to ask, you can lead people to where you all really need to go. As the leader, where you need to go, but the right questions to put in place to make sure you get there together.
That's so important. So important.
It is, because that buy-in is definitely needed. It can't be that there's a one vision thing.
Mm-hmm.
Have a vision, but it has to be our collective vision for us to really be on board and get there together. So make sure you've gone through that data. You know it. You know what questions to ask. So, what measures do you have in place to make sure that teachers are also looking at their data constantly? And one thing that I want to caution leaders on, and Principal Hurt even touched on it, don't just meet to meet. There are so many things to do. And that was one thing that I would tell my staff, I we don't have time for that. I got things to do. Everybody has things to do, and we are not going to meet to meet. So when you are meeting, it should be data driven. What data is everyone bringing to the meeting? What data are we going to be talking about today? It really should be centered around data, because that really makes sure that you're staying on course to do things that are intentional and that are important to move your academic needle in your school. So you want to think about your PLCs. What data meetings are you having in your PLCs? And as the leader, do you have common planning built into your schedule to make sure that these data meetings are collaborative? If you're having a meeting with data, but your sixth grade teachers are not able to meet together, how beneficial is that? So you really need to make sure as the leader that you have your school set up in a way that all of these things have been pre-thought about and that they're intentional. Tammy at her school, and we've adopted a lot of what she has used, had a data protocol system in place. You're looking at your students, you have protocols where you're asking certain questions. And with the MTSS process that I'm currently over for our district this year, we'll be putting more measures in place to make sure we actually have a very good visual of exactly where our students are and where we're needing to move students, because all students can grow. When they come in, they should definitely leave better off than where they came. So if you're instituting that growth mindset into your school, that is something that you definitely want to make sure that is there. We don't just have teacher data meetings in place with teachers for PLCs. We also make sure that students are looking at their data, because a lot of times that's the piece that's missing. We'll sit around as educators and adults and talk about data, and we'll have all of the children's names listed on something, on the data walls or the data cards, but then you haven't talked to the student about the data. And that is the person who definitely is in charge of moving their own needle. So
Yes.
when
Let them
we
own their data. Yes, that's good.
Exactly. And
Mm-hmm.
when we added that piece, that was a game changer for our school. When you explain to the children, this is what your data means, this is what this means, this is where you are. And I always made sure to make sure teachers knew, like, if you have students who are 2 and 3 grade levels behind, we are not going to embarrass students. We're not going to make them feel bad about where they are. You may need to have these conversations where you're kind of sitting in your door, where you can kind of look in on your class, but you can have a real conversation with the child, where everyone else doesn't necessarily have to hear what's happening. But children, one of the biggest misconceptions that is out there, like, they don't care about their education, they don't want to learn, specifically in the African American community. That is not true. The children
Definitely not
want to
true.
learn, they want to grow. Um, just like some of the educators, they need to know how. And once you give them that formula of how, this is how you're going to grow 2 grade levels. And with our student data meetings, we would make sure that students were developing their own notebook. They had data notebooks. You're going to have to read this many nights per week,
Mm-hmm.
20 minutes per night. You're going to do XYZ in order to get from point A to point B. So when we started instituting those student data meetings, again, that was a game changer for us.
Definitely. And I wanted one of the things I want to add, Shika, is that with the students getting involved as well, they get
Mhm.
excited when they see their progress because
They
they're
do.
setting goals. You're getting them involved, and even though if they're
Mhm.
2, 3 grade levels behind, you can celebrate those small wins, and so that's really good. I love it.
Exactly. Yes. And once we started, like you said, celebrating those wins with the students, that really pulled them in. And we didn't stop there because, we have parent conferences a lot of times. But again, sometimes they're not centered around data. We get stuck on some little things that don't matter, things that we really should be able to manage sometimes ourselves, like Johnny and I having paper and pencil. And with our supply room, I always told teachers nobody should be talking about that because I'm giving you the stuff. You don't even have to buy it with your own money. You just go down there and get it and give it to the children so we don't get stuck on things that are not that big of a deal. So when the students know their data, we, from the students' mouth, have student parent led conferences where the students are now telling their parents, this is where I am. This is what
Mhm.
we've planned out for me to have to get from point A to point B. And this is the support I need. Because sometimes, especially in Title Ones or schools of promise, like Tammy and I come from, sometimes it's intimidating for parents to sit in a room and talk to four educators because a lot of times at the middle
Mhm.
level, that's how we meet with people as the team. But sometimes we don't realize from the parents' perspective how intimidating that can be. And we don't know their background from school or what types of experiences they had. But you really take away that threat or intimidation or those bad experiences when you just have the parents sit down and talk to their own children about where they are and where they want to go. And when you hear it from your child's mouth, Mom, this is what I want to do. This is where I need to go. Um, I'm a parent that we're going to definitely get, I'm definitely going to make sure my children are going to get there. So hearing it from them has a different impact in our experience than just coming from the teacher. Were you going to add something, Dr. Roz? I didn't want to, I know I'm
No,
talking fast. I'm
I get
trying to make
excited
sure we
when you
get
talk
out.
about that. Yes, so that was good. No, no, no. Good
Okay.
stuff.
And so we've talked about our principal data, our teacher data, our student data. But for all of the systems that you have in place, again, you want to have something where you're having some type of inspection of, are you getting what you've expected out of that? Even from our front office staff, we have a list of expectations. Our office staff is the group that really sets the tone a lot of times for a lot of people in your building, parents visiting, the teachers that are having to interact and talk with them. So we even look at our office staff data to make sure that what we've expected from there is transcending to the rest of the school and we're getting that impact that we need to make sure that that school culture is where it needs to be. Because if you have a toxic office staff, sometimes that can destroy the culture in your building, just as something as simple as somebody getting smart with someone for asking for a pack of paper, or saying something about somebody making some copies. So those are things that the principal really needs to make sure that they keep an eye on, a pulse on, a gauge on, to make sure that those things are not happening. And if you have accountability measures in place, then it's not just something that it's hit or miss, that we're just talking about here or there, or when something happens, I have the data to show here that we've got to do something a little differently to make sure this improves at the school. And we also have data from our counselors, because our counselors are a very important part not just with teachers instituting SEL, but taking that SEL MTSS system to the next level where your students who may be tier 2, tier 3 on that SEL MTSS system, are they meeting with the groups of students frequently, and then have the suspensions or ISS or referrals gone down since they've started in these groups? So again, making sure that you're inspecting what you expect and having that data with it, that's another way to get your buy-in. Some counselors may think, well, these groups are not going to work, or the teachers may think they're not going to work. But then when you have that data to show them, hey, this is working, now the mindset around that has changed. And lastly, because again, we're going to get on with Principal Kafele next and Dr. Jackson to hear that interview, um, is definitely our assistant principals data, because assistant principals are responsible for several things many times in a building. And so they too want to know their impact and their effectiveness over things that they are responsible for. So again, when you have those accountability measures in place to measure what you've expected, then you can really start having real conversations about what is happening in your building and actually move to make changes or make sure things are impactful to those things that are in place. So
Love it.
thank
Love it.
thank you, Dr. Ross, for being with me
Thank
today.
you. Thank you. I was taking notes as well. I love what you're saying about being intentional, having structures in place, and doing those things up front. So you got to plan for it. So great notes. So I love it.
Thank you. And if you have not joined our group, if you're an educator, make sure you join our group. I'll put that in the comments. We share several things there. People have asked for communication plans that we have. And
Mm-hmm.
again, because we are collaborative, people have done these things for us. We don't mind collaborating and sharing things. We do ask that Create and Educate, we offer professional development to schools, to leadership teams, on transformation, school transformation, culture building, leadership team building, and literacy. So if you are in need of this type of professional development, please reach out to us either through our website. You can send us an email, a message here on any of the social media platforms. But professional development, collaboration, that is what we love. That's at the heart of what we love as educators. That's what helped us to transform our schools. So thank you all so much for being here, and be sure to jump on with Principal Kafele. He has a great interview that he's going to do this morning with Dr. Marcus Jackson. Thank you all for joining us.
Take
Thank you,
care.
Dr. Ross.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me.